Hi, friends, it's Danny, your favorite thought leader, compliance, and risk expert, and we are back to talk about, that's right, compliance program effectiveness as provided in the OIG's resource guide. That's right, we're going to move on to element 2, talking about compliance program administration. Today, we're just going to talk about the first 5 bullets under element 2. Trust me, we'll get into a longer segment later where we'll go more into detail on all of them, but today we really just want to get a flavor, get the basis of what the OIG is looking for in element 2, compliance program administration. Now, compliance program administration is going to largely be the role of your compliance team, your compliance leaders, your compliance staff. However, they don't act alone, and we'll see that in these first few bullets here that we'll cover. An important part of compliance is collaboration. Compliance never operates in a silo. Although much of the information that your compliance team handles will be confidential, it is important that they're working with others and that it's a joint effort. Compliance doesn't carry out the tasks, the staff do. The rest of the organization does. So if compliance identifies an issue or an area where alignment is needed, compliance communicates that. However, in order to assure adherence, to make sure that that's actually followed, it's important to collaborate, to work together in order to assure compliance in your organization. And with that, we'll move to element number A under element 2, maintain a compliance budget. Now, I know this is not necessarily the part that most people want to talk about. Compliance can be very costly when you don't have it. That's right. Now, obviously, when you do, there's an expense for that as well. So organizations really have to consider what is worthwhile. When it comes to determining compliance budget, obviously you have to look at your risk. There's a risk assessment that's conducted. What is the amount of risk that the organization presently has, the likelihood of experiencing that risk, and the impact that it would have on the livelihood of the organization at large. And when you're establishing your compliance budget, you want to consider the current regulatory climate as well. What's going on in the world today? Who else is at risk? What issues have they had? And how might we be susceptible to the same issues? Where does our compliance team perhaps need the funding to be able to support us so that we don't have those same experiences? This says, maintain a compliance budget. In other words, contribute to planning, preparing, and monitoring financial resources. Financial resources are the health of a business. Doesn't mean that there are no other types of resources. Obviously, we have human resources, we have material resources, but at the end of the day, the financial resources that the organization has are what make those other resources a possibility. Trust me, if the organization runs out of finances, it will not have any humans to be able to carry out its task. And so assuring the financial health of the company is essential, and compliance plays a key role in that. You want to make sure that you budget for compliance needs as it pertains to every aspect of the organization. What is compliance oversight in this area? What are the priorities or the needs? And then how much will it take? What is the investment needed in order to make that happen? Now, with that, there is an understanding that Rome wasn't built in a day. Your problems didn't all occur overnight, so they're not going to be fixed overnight. Some of you may benefit from a multi-year budgeting plan that says, these are the issues that we have. This is what we can take care of now. We will manage this, keep a heightened level of oversight over this other area, and perhaps plan on working that into the budget next year. So your organization has to go through the task. And, in my experience, that's not a task that compliance should conduct alone. I feel like that's a good leading into letter B here, which says report compliance program activity to the governance board/committee. So many of you You're going to benefit by taking these big decisions, these big overhauls, and even when it's not big, but consistent reporting to your governing board, to your elevated level of staff, that provides oversight and decision making as it pertains to the organization. They're going to be the ones that you want to keep informed as it pertains to your program. If they're aware of some of the issues that have been dealt with, the liability that's involved, like I said, the impact that it has on the organization, you're going to be in a better position to gain their buy-in from issues, incidents, or matters of which they have been informed. So you want to make sure that there is consistent reporting of your activity. On another hand, what that does for compliance staff is demonstrates the need. If you can show where your compliance team's time is being spent, if you can show what the investment that has already been given is worth, the effectiveness of it, what you've been able to accomplish as a result to your governing board, you're going to find that they are more inclined to support your desire for additional resources or additional responsibility or roles that you may play. So make sure that you're not simply operating like this in your compliance roles, but that you are actually collaborating with the teams and the people that are there to support you, so that when the time comes for you to need that support or receive it, it's available to you. C. Before I move on to letter C, another thing that's important about reporting your program activity to a governing board is because there is a regulatory weight that is assigned with a lot of the things that your compliance program does. And that regulatory weight does not solely rest on the shoulders of your compliance team. It rests on the organization at large. It rests on the decision makers at large. It rests on the board at large. And it's important that you are consistently making them aware of the issues that also impact them. We know with the Sally Yates memo, I believe it was of 2015, it really implemented strict regulations that demonstrate that the United States government is going to assure individual accountability for corporate wrongdoing. If a matter is kept with compliance and is not reported up to the powers that be in order for there to be proper governance from others who may hold accountability, well, then it creates an additional liability where you may have individuals who should have known of these issues but did not. So make sure that you're not bearing that weight alone, but that you're sharing that weight so that collaboratively decisions can be made and you can collectively build from even what may be process failures. Letter C, coordinate operational aspects of a compliance program with the oversight committee. Now, some of you may have committees, others of you don't. I can tell you when I started in my role, there was no such committee. Committees are going to be so valuable in order to gain buy-in at the operational level. Typically, your compliance committee is not going to be made up of your executive leadership team, although there may be some members from the executive leadership team. What it will be composed of is leaders, whether they are leaders by title or by virtue of the role that they play in the organization, but there will be leaders on your team that can really serve to effectively communicate both to you what their operational goals are in order to receive support from compliance for achieving those goals. And then that communication, it works, I'm hearing bilaterally, but it's a two-way street. You also can make known to them compliance objectives that they can be mindful of as they're making decisions for their departments and in their roles to assure that operational objectives align with the compliance requirements. So really make sure, coordinate operational aspects of a compliance program with the oversight committee. This is going to help you assure that there's no overlap. You're not looking at one thing and then you have another department who in their silo or away from the committee, they say that doesn't make sense. That's not really realistic. We don't want to audit the logistics team, and plan it. And, we don't want to set up an unplanned audit and we realize that logistics, they only have maybe one day a week that they coordinate. we may need to come up with a better or operational plan of attack that assures both missions are accomplished. So just something to think of. And then the last item that we'll cover today, letter D, collaborate with others to institute the best compliance program. And that really just comes back. And obviously, you have your oversight committee. So you want to utilize the oversight committee, but sometimes things, they go beyond that, you know? And when it comes to assuring that what we are doing is effective, it's a buy-in is essential, because you can establish the grandest compliance program that you want, but at the end of the day, if you can't gain the buy-in, get the collaboration from others that's necessary in order to really get that ingrained in the culture, then it's going to be dead on arrival. So this is just a reminder. And as you can see, we've got maintain, report, coordinate, collaborate, a lot of in element 2, I'm seeing a lot of notes that indicate you're going to have to work together. You're going to have to work together. So element 2, we see a focus now on pulling things together. Element 1 was largely establishing, getting things in place. Element 2 is now making it functional. How do we make this operational? And that's not going to be by writing it on paper. It's going to be by talking, by discussing, by reviewing, looking at the process, saying, this is what I want to do. What are you guys doing? And seeing how that can fit together to assure that you achieve success. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this content. Like this video, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel, and there will definitely be more to come. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.